morning, thank you for joining me. I always say good morning, and you could be watching this in the afternoon or the evening, so I don't know why I say good morning. It's because it is the morning, I guess. I am filming this in the morning. We've digressed already and haven't even got to the title of the video yet. Today, I'm going to talk to you about things that scare me. What keeps me up at night? What worries me? I got the idea for this video from a blog post I wrote back in 2010. Or 2010? Did you say 2010 or 2010? A lot of people say 2010, don't they? I like 2010. Don't know why. So I wrote this blog post and I was reading through it and I thought, is it still the same issues that are keeping me up at night or that I worry about? And it pretty much was, to be honest. So I thought it would be fun to make a video about it, or interesting, and I'd quite like you guys to tell me what you're scared of in the comments as well. But before we get to that, let's talk about the fact that I am one of life's worriers. I think I get this from my mother. I think I've inherited it. She's a big worrier as well. And I am definitely, if there is something available to be worried about, you can guarantee that I will be worrying about it. I don't like to use the term anxiety. I think anxiety is a massively overused term these days. And I think we perhaps ought to recognise that being worried about something, being nervous, being apprehensive about things, that's all part of life. That's perfectly normal. It wouldn't be... Feeling those feelings is fine. There is nothing wrong with it. There's nothing abnormal about it. Okay, I do understand that some people do have a mental health issue around anxiety, and absolutely, but I do feel like, especially on YouTube, I think the term anxiety is really overused more than it should be. It's fine to worry. We all worry. That's what I'm trying to say, really. You don't need to worry about the fact you worry. I don't think I'm couching this particularly well, but hey. I think a lot of my worry personally stems from the fact that I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to be in control. If I'm not in control, I don't... it's probably trust issues. Do I trust other people to be in control? I don't know. There's probably a whole psychological backstory there. But yeah, my control freakery, I quite often feel goes sort of hand in hand. I'm doing hand in hand with my hands. I feel it goes hand in hand with my worries. So I've got 5 things to talk about that scare me and worry me. And then I'm going to tell you about some things that don't scare me and worry me, just to add a little bit of positivity and upliftingness to the video. I thought, I've got a weird sticking out bit of hair. Anyway, the first thing I'm scared of, which may surprise you, is flying. I don't like flying at all. I've never really liked flying, although I've got better and worse about it over the years. The amount of terror of flying is generally directly inversely proportional to the amount of gin that I've drunk prior to flying. More gin I drink, the less I worry. But you know, that has issues of its own, doesn't it? But I do not like flying. As you know, I travel quite extensively. I had a job working on cruise ships, and I used to have to fly out to join the ship back in my 20s, my early 20s, and I didn't mind flying so much then, but we had a really rough flight just when Ashley and I were first married. But Ashley was working over in Dublin with my dad quite a lot in Ireland, and we used to have to fly quite regularly, and we had a really horrible, the planes that they used to fly to Dublin from Exeter in those days, we called them flying sheds. I don't know where that expression came from, but they were basically a very square looking plane, not with jet engines, with propellers, and they just were very small and not very nice. And we had a particularly unpleasant flight to Dublin. Very, very turbulent and windy and unpleasant, and that really set me off on having got a little bit better about flying. That set me off again, and really since then I don't enjoy flying at all. I wouldn't let my fear of flying stop me doing anything. I will fly by myself, that doesn't bother me any more than flying with other people. It's just the not having the control thing. I just don't like it. So I do self-medicate with gin or wine, or you know, there's very rarely a flight, even a very early morning flight, that I do not have a gin and tonic on. true story, because it just makes me feel better about it. So yeah, I am not a good flyer, but I love my holidays. It will never stop me from flying, but I really don't enjoy it. I am that person on the plane that when you feel the first bit of turbulence goes like that. Drives Ashley mental. He deliberately pretends to go to sleep so he doesn't have to deal with me. Something that I've discovered recently that scared me, or fairly recently, within the last 10 years, 12 years, something like that. I was going to have my wisdom teeth out, and you have to have it done under general anaesthetic here, or you did at the time. I don't know if it's changed now. As I say, it's 10 or 12 years ago. And I'd had terrible, terrible problems with my wisdom teeth. They were impacted, and I'd had several infections and had to go on antibiotics, and they were so, so painful. I remember it being almost as bad as the pain of childbirth, having my wisdom teeth, you know, the problems I was having with my wisdom teeth. I couldn't wait to get them removed, and there was quite a long waiting list, and I eventually got my turn. I went into hospital in the morning. It was a day, you're in and out in half a day basically, but long story short, I got as far as the operating table. The anaesthetist was about to put, I had the cannula in my hand, he was about to put the anaesthetic in, and I pushed him away. I jumped off the operating table and I ran out of the operating theatre. I don't know what it was. I hadn't been worried. I've had a general anaesthetic before, and it's been fine, but something inside me that day told me to run away. Something inside my head. And I don't think any of the staff had ever had to deal with anything like that before. I was literally running through the corridors of the hospital with a gown thing on and ripping this cannula out of my hand. It was hilarious looking back, not so much at the time. Anyway, I still have all 4 wisdom teeth. I've never had them removed, and from that day, touch wood, only got my head to touch, I have never had any more problems with my wisdom teeth, which is quite strange in itself, considering they gave me months and months of aggravation before I got to that point, and I don't know what it was, but this absolute terror of the anaesthetic going into the cannula in my hand just overtook me, and any sort of embarrassment about how I behaved, I just didn't care. I just had to get out of there. So who knows what that was all about, but I was bloody scared of having that anaesthetic in my hand that day, and something was telling me not to do it. Another thing that worries me, that I think is probably one for all of us, I worry about, especially as I get older, I worry about terminal disease a lot. Weirdly, not so much cancer. The one I really worry about is motor neurone disease, because I think that's just the most awful way to slowly lose everything. Don't want to dwell on that too much. I had a temp job in the local hospice, probably just when William started school, so 15 years ago, something like that. And I was working in the offices, not actually in the hospice itself, but what I was doing, I had to go into the hospice, the wards, if you like, and although it was a lovely, lovely place, and I'm a great advocate of hospices and what they do, and it's not all about dying, it was also quite traumatic and distressing, and I think that has been one of the things that has contributed to me over worrying about terminal disease and not so much dying at all, but just the process of getting there, I guess. An old friend of mine who I used to work with on the ships, and who was quite a close friend at the time, I hadn't seen her for a long, long time, but she died a couple of years ago of motor neurone disease. I heard about it on Facebook, and although we'd been in touch, we hadn't seen each other for 25 years or so, and it really knocked me for six. She was only a little bit older than me, and she had chosen not to share the fact that she had motor neurone disease. It's ALS, it's called in America. She lived in America, and she hadn't shared the fact that she was battling this disease on social media, and none of her friends, we've got sort of a group of us who are all friends on Facebook from those days, and none of us knew, and we were all just really, really shocked, and thought that someone only a little bit older than me, I mean, I know people can get any disease at any age, but these sort of things bring it home, you know, and I do spend more than my fair share of time probably worrying about terminal disease. Jolly, isn't it? Let's move on. Next, I'm going to talk about a more irrational worry. I worry a lot about car accidents. If somebody is due to be home and they're not home and I can't get hold of them on their mobile phone, even if they're half an hour late, I will be worrying to the point of sometimes actually being physically sick. If someone's travelling in a car and I can't get hold of them and they're not where they should be, I panic about it, and I don't know why this is. It's something inside me that I assume that they are dead in I assume that they're dead in a ditch at the side of the road. I don't know why. It's very irrational. I have mastered getting over this a little bit in the last 5 or 6 years, I think, but I'm better than I used to be about it, but it doesn't take much. And William, bless him, if he's ever going to be late, he's so good at always letting me know and phoning me, and he knows that to text me or whatever, just to let me know, and I'll be fine as long as he's told me that he's going to be late. Actually, he's not quite so good at it, but yeah, that's a real irrational worry that I have. I don't know, well, it's not related to the fact that my cousin's daughter died in a car accident very suddenly at the age of 19, and a few years ago. It's not related to that. I haven't got any better or worse since that happened, but yeah, she just had a visit from the police and they told her, and just beyond awful, but yeah, although that happened, that hasn't made me any worse or better about worrying about people dying in car accidents than I already do. The final one of my fears that I wanted to talk to you about is one that I wrote down in my original blog post in 2010, and it said, I quote, sorry, I've got it typed because I wanted to quote it exactly. Getting old and losing my marbles, or one or both of my parents losing their marbles. And that was exactly what I wrote in 2010. Regular viewers will know that my dad now has Alzheimer's and dementia. He's in the fairly early stages of that still, and early to moderate stages, I would say, is getting worse. And I'm telling you this, not as a, oh God, my fears came true, it was so awful, but as a positive story, in that when these things happen, you just deal with them. You do just deal with them. Yes, there is that awful knowledge that things are only going to progress in a worse way, but there are still great moments and happy times to be had and memories to be made and all that good stuff, and everybody just deals with it. My dad knows that he's not well, he deals with that. He shares a little bit sometimes about how it scares him, and I think that can only be a healthy thing. My mum, bless her, is absolute... Sorry, don't want to get emotional. My mum is dealing with it amazingly. She's really, really strong, and what must be a frustrating and upsetting experience for her every day, every hour. She gets on with it, and the strength of the human spirit is just, we deal with these things. We don't need to be scared, because although things are scary, we just get on with it and we deal with it. That's how we're built as human beings. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Right. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of an uplifting bit at the end. Things that I'm not scared of. So you don't think I'm just a bag of neurotic neuroses. I'm not scared of snakes. Don't particularly want one as a pet, but I'm not massively scared of them. Spiders. Somebody said in the assumptions video that I did recently, their assumption about me was that I'd be scared of spiders. I'm really not scared of creepy crawlies very much at all. I mean, again, I don't want to be best friends with a spider, or, you know, but I'm not terrified of spiders at all. I've held a tarantula. When we went to Longley, I held a tarantula not very long ago. Yeah, so snakes and spiders and all those things that you'd think you'd be scared of, I'm not actually. I'm not particularly scared of heights. I'm not, although after watching that film Free Solo the other week, I was slightly more scared of heights. I'm not going to go and scale a sheer rock face without a rope, you know. I'm not even going to go and scale one with a rope, let's be perfectly honest about this. But yeah, I'm not particularly scared of heights. And finally, I'm not scared of needles. I don't ever watch a needle going into me because I have been known to pass out having done that in the past, but I'm not scared of needles. I just turn my head the other way and let them get on with it. The anticipation is worse than the reality, isn't it? And I think that's actually a good point to maybe end this video on, is that thinking about things and worrying about them is always worse than the reality. And the other thing that I want to say about that is when you lie awake worrying at night, it seems so much better in the morning. Our fears always seem worse in the dead of night when it's just us and our thoughts, and when you wake up in the morning, I think everything always seems better. If you enjoyed that, share with me in the comments what your fears are or what you're not scared of, and if you could give this video a like if you'd enjoy it, and if you could give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate that. It really helps me to get that engagement from you guys, the comments and the thumbs up. I don't say this in every video because I find it's quite tedious watching it in other people's videos, but it really does help the content creator if you do comment or just leave a thumbs up. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.